So my name's Denis Oakley, and what I do is I play with business models, which are a fancy way of saying this is how your business works. And we try, or we succeed rather, in capturing what are the most important parts of your business on a single piece of paper. And this is called the business model canvas. So everything that I'm going to refer to tonight is pretending that this little square in the middle, let me just highlight it. This is the business model canvas of your business. And if you Google business model canvas, you will find an awful lot of information about how to condense your business into 9 very small segments that explain everything. And so with that said, I'm just going to jump straight in and tell you, and let me just get rid of the erase all the ink so it doesn't go from slide to slide. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to make your business more productive and innovative in changing times. So I work with a lot of companies, a lot of businesses and organisations along the way. At the moment, I'm working with the Church of England, helping them create a business model to increase neo-monasticism and sporting evangelism of all things. I'm not sure quite how the two of those fit together, but we're working quite hard to see if we can do that. I've lived in Malaysia for 15 years, and the beginning of this year I moved back to the UK, which is why I'm wearing a jumper and wrapped up warm, unlike the rest of you lucky people. So jumping in, we have a business model canvas, and super quickly I'll just describe the little bits. In this section we talk about who our customers are. In this section we talk about the value that we're creating for our customers and how we get money from the customers for the value that we give them. The value could be your product or services or something else entirely. Up here we have our customer services, how we interact with customers, whether we treat them really well, like if you go into Tiffany's or a Hilton hotel, or we just totally ignore them as if you are using Gmail or Facebook, where you never actually have any real interaction with a human. And this is the section where we talk about the marketing, how you communicate with your customers, how you distribute the products and services so that customers are able to get them. This is all about how you make the product or service that you're selling, the key resources that you need, perhaps a factory, perhaps an airport, perhaps a retail shop, perhaps a vacuum bag sealer. It doesn't matter, any resources will do. If you haven't got the resources, who can you buy them for? From your key partners, and obviously the costs that you incur for all of this. And in these 9 segments, we can very much condense down a business into a very, very high level simplified map that allows you to see what's really important without getting overwhelmed by the detail. And so whenever you see this shape, we're talking about a business model. Companies have their own business models. A lot of the business models are quite similar, as we will discover. Now, in normal business life, you've got your business model, and your competitors out there have also got their own business models. And a lot of the time when we're doing normal business, we'll find that we're in this constant war. Their business models are attacking ours. We're trying to increase sales, increase profits, and so are they. And we end up in this very, very difficult competitive situation where we're all suffering. Nobody can win. But however hard you try, however much you cost, however many new and innovative products you come up with, you can't get ahead. And what my role is very much, how do you break this deadlock? How do you get away from this competition to create entirely new types of business, entirely new categories, where instead of hoping, if you're lucky to be growing at 1, 2, 3, 5, maybe even 10% a year, you can be growing at 30 or 50% year after year, decade after decade. So we're talking about how do you create companies a lot more like Apple or Google or Amazon, rather than how to open another Mamac shop. And I know we love our Mamac shops, but honestly, most of them are pretty much the same as all the others. There's not a lot of difference. They're interchangeable, they're commodities. How do you stop your business being a commodity? How do you make it different? and I suspect I am already going to go over time, and I'm really sorry about this, but I'm going to be as quick as I can whilst giving you an amazing experience. So business models come in groups. As I've said, all Mamac shops, broadly speaking, have a similar business model. Airlines, you've got low-cost business models like AirAsia or Lion Air, and you've got more full-service business models like Cathay Pacific, whatever the Singapore one is called, it's gone from the mind of me, and of course our very own Malaysian Airlines. And so what a particular group does, or family of business models, very much oops, I've got the red thing, where do I go next? Very much determines what's actually possible, because business models in a family tend to profit together, they tend to go bankrupt, they tend to stagnate, and they tend to fail together. And so if you've got a business model that is pretty much the same as everybody else in your business, in your industry, how good your people are, how much cash you've got, how innovative your products are, generally isn't going to change your success that much. What's absolutely critical is changing your business model to change your success in the future. And this is where really the title of the product of this webinar comes from, because by changing your business model, you're able to innovate massively and hugely increase the productivity of your business. So all business models go through a life cycle, and whereabouts you are in the life cycle depends on whether you're able to innovate successfully, or you have to sort of face up to competition and just get better at it. You start off with this growth, this introduction phase, where there's a lot of opportunity for business models. Then you're into growth, working out how to make the business models more effective. Maturity, scraping every little bit of value that you can capture out of the business model, and eventually it starts decaying, it starts falling apart. Newspapers would be a pretty good one. Who reads the news in newspapers any longer? You go to the New Straits Times online, or something perhaps like Malaysia Kini or Vulcan Press in Malaysia. And so the places where you can come up with new business models are right at the beginning, when there's a new industry. So for example, in cryptocurrency or blockchain, or right at the end of an industry life cycle, when things are starting to fall apart, say newspapers, perhaps old-fashioned landline telecoms, perhaps even mobile telecoms, or power generation nowadays, with the amount of solar electricity and larger batteries that are coming through. Now, the point of having a business model is a powerful business model is so that your business can get the gold medal. I mean, you're not really interested in getting silver or bronzes. You want a business model that is going to put your company right up there, head and shoulders, or even a tower block, a full condominium above everybody else. Because if you're spending your time fighting your competition, that's money that you're not capturing to return to your shareholders or your stakeholders if you're running an impact kind of business, and it's not money, or it's not value that can be given away to customers if you're having a not-for-profit business. And so it's really important to have a powerful business model, whatever type of business that you're running, so that you can share out the value that you create to the people who deserve it. So we've got the first point of having a powerful business model, and this is what I really want you to think about and take away, is that your business model has got to accelerate and make even more powerful the value proposition, the product or service offering that you're creating. If it's just acting as a delivery driver, sort of a ninja van or a go-getter, sort of delivering your product or your service around KL or Penang, then it's not doing what it should be doing. It should be making it so much easier for your value, your service, for your product to be reaching tens of thousands and millions of people. It's got to be making things go a lot faster. Let me just clear all the ink again. The second thing that your business model's got to be doing is it's got to be smashing the competition. And I'm not talking about sort of getting somebody from the sort of Prime Minister's office to sort of start signing nice decrees on your side to sort of be restricting competition, or other dirty tricks like that. What I'm talking about is having your business model make things even more difficult for other players in the business. So if you play chess and you remember when you fork somebody, you put the king in check, and you're attacking some other piece, and they've got the choice of, okay, do I sacrifice my king and lose the game, or do I lose the other piece? And this is exactly what you're trying to do. So for example, low-cost carriers like AirAsia make it very difficult for somebody like Malaysian Airlines. They've got to choose, do they cut costs to retain passenger numbers, or do they go forward with fewer passengers and a bigger cost base for the business, which makes them less profitable? So this is what you're trying to do with the other part of the business model. If it's not making life harder for the competition, you're giving too much away. And so these are the basic principles of business model innovation. Taking your existing business, which is in a place of competition, and going out and creating something a lot more powerful, that's going to grow faster and make more profits. So how do we do this? So we've got a fairly straightforward process. It gets complicated in thinking things through rather than in the steps. So let's start off with a bunch of competitors' business models. And really, the first thing that you do is you sit down and you sketch out your competitors' business models. Now, most of you are probably pretty serious businessmen. You know the competition. You've got a lot of domain knowledge. And you're tempted to say, I don't need to do this, Dennis. I know all this already. I tell you something, though. Sit down, sketch out your competitors' business models, and you'll find that there is an awful lot of stuff that you discover that you didn't know. And you can take this insights away and start using them tomorrow in your marketing, in your sales, in your operations to reduce costs and improve profits. That's an immediate tactical win that you get from doing this. And I've seen this time and time again in customers when we've done this exercise. But what's more important long term is you're understanding the weaknesses, the strengths of their business models, so that when you come to design a new one, you're then able to design business models that disrupt theirs and make life difficult for them. Life is more difficult for them, less competition, more sales, more profit, more value created for your users and customers. So how do we do this? Well, we start off with a blank sheet of paper. I mean, generally, don't have ideas. Your ideas, get rid of them as quickly as possible, because if you come into this with preconceived ideas, you're often going down a dead end, or even worse, the same approach that other people in the industry are doing. And if you're doing the same thing as them, you're not getting away from the competition. So you start with a blank sheet of paper, you start with your business model canvas, and then you start asking, where about am I going to focus my business model on? Have I got a lot of strengths in creating stuff? Do I have a lot of strengths in my understanding and knowledge of customers and reaching them? Do I have a lot of strengths in creating a huge amount of value for customers? Or do I have a really good understanding of the financial and different financial models that can transform customers, businesses, their lives, however you're doing it? And choose one of these areas to start with, to start coming up with new ideas for a business model. And first of all, just sit out there and start idly, sit down with the piece of paper, sketching ideas out. And you say, well, it's this customer, and I'm going to be creating this value. So how would I be making money out of this? Make money. And you may use these 3 or 4 things. You may use different ones. When I'm doing it for a client, I probably do 30, 40 of these sheets with customers as I'm just jotting ideas down, brainstorming, just going through, coming up with more and more ideas, more and more different combinations. Most of them don't work. Most of them aren't better than what you do already. That's not the point. We're looking for a different way. We're looking for a better way. And to a certain extent, throw numbers at the wall, you get great results. Okay, so next, so sketch out the ideas. Then head over to your customer. Who do you think your customer is? And what I want you to think about when you're doing this, we've been really customer centric. So I'm going to draw a nice big smile. Yeah, eyes are a little bit close together. Never mind. Why do I want what I want? And so if you're selling cars, for example, ask, why does somebody want a car? Why does somebody want a luxury car? Why does somebody want a Mercedes car? Is it for mobility? Is it to move their mum and dad? Often those are quite functional ideas or needs. What you want to get back is to the core job that they're hiring Mercedes to do, and there's an awful lot on this under the title jobs to be done, JTBD, if you Google it. But understanding the job that your product is being or service is being hired to do, and often we'll find that what you're selling isn't what they're buying. Trying to understand what the customer is buying your product or service to do, even at this very early stage, helps to significantly improve the strength of your new business model. So the next stage, we take the something's gone a little bit wrong. Don't know what's happening. There we go. We've understood the customer's jobs, what they're really hiring things for. So quickie, I drink lots of Diet Coke. I don't drink it because I like the taste, because I want the caffeine or anything. I drink it because I used to smoke 60 cigarettes a day. And this, every time I want a cigarette, I take a sip of Coke. It's a way of stopping smoking for me. That's not why Coca-Cola is selling me Coca-Cola, but I'm buying it as an anti-cigarette habit. So you understand people's jobs, and then you try and figure out what the pains are, what the gains are, what pains are they trying to solve from their jobs, what do they want to achieve from getting that job, completing that job, and then when you're thinking about your value proposition, your product or your service in fancy strategic terms, you're thinking about, how do I make things that explicitly create gains for them? How do I make part of my product or service offering directly kill their pains? And broadly speaking, the more pains that you can kill, the more gains that you can create, yeah, the better set of functions, features and benefits that you can create when you're putting your product together. So we're not even talking about features and benefits here. We're talking about painkillers and gain creators, and that's at a slightly higher level, and it gives you a lot more insight when you're building your disruptive business model. Right, we've got all this far. We've got some ideas for business model. Now, again, start coming up with different business models. If you come up with one business model, it is probably going to be not very good. It's going to be the first thing that you think of. It's not going to be particularly powerful. There is a huge process of iteration, going round and round, thinking things through, going for a long walk, having a glass of wine in an evening, or going for a long ocean swim, whatever it takes your fancy. Doing something that gets the subconscious mind thinking different business models through, and you start getting magical things happening. And there is a huge amount of scientific literature to suggest that as you clear away a lot of the detail, as you start coming up with ideas, the mind starts picking up on these, and it starts going faster and faster, coming up with better ideas. And this is what we're trying to do here. Once you've created a diverse set of business models, normally I end up going up to management or the senior leadership team and saying, here you go, guys, here's a nice buffet of different business models. Which do you like? And they go, no, 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 no. Oh, I like that. Can we spend a little bit more time on that? Oh, and we explore them. I might push back, challenge people. And this is very good, because what's just in one's person's head is often pretty thin. The more people who are looking at something, especially the more people who come from a customer background rather than management background, who aren't buying and using the product or service that you're creating a business model for, the better a business model you're often able to create. And then we come up with one or two business models like this one down in the bottom left hand corner that we think are pretty good, that are pretty robust. And then we start saying, okay, what's going to happen if? And so I do these two axes. We've lost the A1 and the A2 here, but I mean, you could say, okay, this is a world of low fuel prices. This is a world of high fuel prices. This is a world where COVID waves come every 3 months. This is a world where COVID is gone in 6 months' time. And by coming up with a couple of different axes, you can choose what you want, whatever seems relevant to your business. You're then able to come up with a lot of scenarios where you can quickly and easily test your new business models and see how they work. Because honestly, the worst thing in the world, and I was talking to an Indonesian company this morning which runs an airline, and their temptation was to say, oh, this is going to be a business model, let's go and do it. And it's like, whoa, hang on guys, you're already billions of dollars in debt. If this doesn't work, it's going to be an absolute disaster. So how can you test things before you jump? What is going to be the variations? What are going to be the different opportunities, alternatives that you could use? Let's do the thought experiments first, reduce the risk, and then we can go out into the market and play. And so we have to go out into the market and play. This isn't all sitting at a desk. There's a lot of talking at people. So you get your business model and you test it. You test it with little desktop tests like this. Then you go out and you try it with customers. Then you do a little minimum viable product, they call it, as cheap a version as you can possibly get away with, that's captures some of the real life circumstances. You validate it. Validate, it's a fancy word for saying, does it work? Does it deliver the benefits that we're going to think it's going to deliver to consumers? Is it profitable? Is it creating value? Is it capturing value in terms of profitability for us? And often it's going to be, it works, but if we tweak this, if we change that, it would work a little bit better. So we tweak the business model, we send it out for another test, we try another alternative, a different version, and eventually we launch it. And at the point that we're launching, we're not launching something that's a guess. We're not launching something that's a good idea. We have got a huge amount of certainty going through this process that the business model that we're creating is going to be delivering significant value for your company. And whether that's a tiny two-man SME or a large multinational that employs tens of thousands of people, at that point, your business model is going to fly. And we've got a huge amount of evidence to support the corporate commitment into it. And that is really a very quick run through. I'm just going to check my time. I'm about the 20-minute mark. A very quick run through of how to create powerful business models. I mean, I've written literally hundreds of that, probably 500,000 words of it on my website, denis-oakley.com, and I know that it works for everybody from one-man performance coaches whose businesses we've transformed by doing this, to large multinationals who've got tens of thousands of employees and are looking for significant increases in their growth. And just one final point before I hand it over to the questions. We're going for significant growth. I mean, when we're doing this, we're not looking at 5 or 10% growth or even 15% growth. We're looking for ways to help your business grow 30, 50, 80, 100% a year and keep on doing that for year after year, because there's no competition, because you are delivering 50 or 100 times more value to your users than existing business models are. That's what we're trying to do. It's a big shift, and at the end of it, your business is not going to be the same. I was working with pardon me, I was working with a manufacturer, a Malaysian manufacturer of pressure vessels, and they said, Dennis, this is all very good, but at the end of it, we want to make pressure vessels. In which case I said, I can't help you. Business model innovation is all about going from where you are now to somewhere that is new, and that newness gives you the opportunity to do something amazing in the world and to make it a better place. Thank you very much.